and welcome back to the Chatterjack Podcast. Today I am joined by Kevin Warman from the Chamber of Commerce in Cumbria, and I'm going to let Kev introduce himself.
Hello there. Yeah, pleased to be here and thank you for having me. As Lindsay said, I work for the Cumbria Chamber of Commerce and my role is the Local Skills Improvement Engagement Manager. Snazzy title.
That is a title. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. So I'm going to take you right back. Kev, if you will come with us,
I will try.
We want to talk to you about school and things you've learned and what you wish you could tell your younger self, and for our listeners and our audience to kind of get to know you a bit better and know how you've ended up where you are today. So,
have you got a long time?
Yeah, we've got as long as you need. I'm going nowhere. I've eaten. We're good. Thinking back to being at school, tell me about school life for you.
Okay, so I was brought up in South East London. I went to a comprehensive school, and I was told by my father that they were going to move me into the grammar stream if I carried on doing well. Unfortunately, I had a car accident, and I got ran over, it was quite dodgy, and I really didn't. When I came back from recovering from it, that basically I lost my window. Yeah. But that's the excuse I give. But Kevin did mess around a little bit too much as well, and liked to play the joker. I've said to my boys, they are now 21 and 22, and I said to them when they were younger, make sure you concentrate, because believe me, when you do it younger, it's a lot easier. So I've done further qualifications as I got older because of the job I did, but and actually did very well. But yes, was a little bit of a tearaway when he was at school.
A little bit cheeky.
Yes, just a little bit, yeah.
So that's kind of what was on your school report?
It was. Yeah. Kevin could do better if he wasn't the joker.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to dive into that a bit more. So then coming into sort of secondary school, subjects that you kind of studied, what was your sort of passion being in sort of that secondary school space?
Yeah, I love sport, so that was always good. And probably English. Quite liked English. Okay. Yeah. Not a lot of people can understand my English up here, though, I don't think.
We don't speak it either, don't worry.
I enjoyed secondary school. But again, probably should have buckled down a little bit more. It meant Kevin stayed on an extra year to make sure he got the correct exams.
Got you.
But that was through his dad saying, you are staying on another year, Kevin, and you are going to study. And I think the point is, Lindsay, when I studied and put my head down, I actually smashed it. And I think that's a big message for a lot of people out there. If you are at school, believe me, like I said to you earlier, I said it to my boys, do it now, because it's a hell of a lot easier when you're younger, and it really is. And it must be the boring thing that all parents say, but it's so true. Yeah. It's so true.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So I guess your hobbies, I know a bit about you. Was it football? Was that the particular sport of interest for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I obviously love playing football. Again, unfortunately, the car accident. Yeah. Unbeknown to me or my parents, I damaged my left knee quite badly. I've actually got a replacement knee, and I had that done when I was probably about 40.
Right.
So the accident, I had head injuries. So they concentrated on that. Yeah. And a lot of people say, well, I should have found your knee, you should sue them or something. I'm like, they saved my life. Yeah. It's so as the years went by, I found it more and more difficult, and it was noted that it looked like I had an issue, and I went to the hospital, and yes, I had a shattered kneecap. And basically back in the day, they'd said, they did an exploratory, and they said, well, you know what, it's probably easier just to leave it, and we'll see how it goes. But no contact sports, no football, no skiing, nothing like that. So I said, so what can I do? And they said, snooker, darts. And so quite a healthy sort of option, really. So I tended to ignore that when I was a little bit younger and just carried on playing, not really competitively, played with my mates and stuff like that. But as the years went by, the knee became more and more of an issue. So my aim to be a famous football player failed, but I have made sure that I sort of carried on that tradition, and I've been a football manager for a lot of years. I'm not currently, but I have been, and I took lads from sort of that age all the way through to men's football, which was very interesting as well.
And that was quite a long time. You did that at one particular place. Was it about 10, 15 years you were there?
Yeah. It was actually a number of, it was in the same area, but it was a number of actual clubs. So it started off, I lived in a little village in Maidstone, just out of Maidstone, Waterbury. And Callum, my eldest son, was 3 or 4 and he wanted to go and play football. So we took him down. And that's how it all started. And he was playing in a side that was maybe a year older than him. So when it came to, it was first of all, the first year it was just playing with each other, knocking around. Then you went into a league. Because he was the year younger, he couldn't go into it. So we sought ourselves another club locally with a friend of mine, and we ended up taking it over. That team. And that was a lot of the years probably at that club. It was a club called Larkfield, and we had a great group of lads, great set of parents, and we were a good team, but we weren't the best. And my boys were the first age group to go from playing little boys football, and then all of a sudden when you're 11, you go to men's. It's now changed. They have 8-a-side, which makes much more sense. But my boys were the last ones to go into this. Wow. And we had to get more players. And I think that's probably the highlight of my footballing career. We came second in the Premier League. And everyone was like, wow, where did they come from? I think we were a third or fourth side place team. And that was a mate of mine, Stuart Gray. And obviously, there are so many fantastic memories because my younger son then played for another side in that same club. Yeah. So you can imagine how the weekends went.
Lots of football.
Yeah, lots of football and lots of barbecues with the parents and things like that, which is lovely. And we did lots of events. I ran an end of season event, and we raised loads of money for the club. I like raising money for good causes as well.
I love that. That sounds right up your street. Football team of choice?
There is only one team, Arsenal, of course.
Of course, yes.
I'm not going to shout that too much, to be honest. We like coming second. There's this little theme here. Do you see this? Yeah, second in with my team, and Arsenal kind of follow it on quite for me. Yeah,
I know. Yeah, football. We'll come back to that later. So then, just coming back to sort of leaving school, you sort of done your exams, you'd stayed an extra year at school, and then you'd sort of passed them all. Then what happened next? You went into the banking industry, straight into banking?
Yeah. Okay. And I think part of my job now, the job I'm doing, is speaking to the local schools improvement about the skills gaps we've got. So speaking to companies, speaking to students at school and teachers. And I've got to say, back in the day, you either went into an office or you went and did a manual job. It was either or.
Yes.
A bit more to it than that, but basically that was it. My dad wasn't a handyman, so whenever he did any decorating, he shut the door and no one could speak to him and you couldn't go in there. So I was never going to learn anything from him. I did learn a lot from him, but not from decorating or anything like that. So Kev's 16 years old, maybe I stayed on the years, so maybe just 17 or late 16. And what am I going to do? So I really, really didn't have any idea, like probably like a lot of children today have. You get asked at 14, 15, what do you want to do? Well, I don't know. Yeah. And that's why I'd love to change the way we do things. So we were inspiring children at a younger age. And I know that's going on a lot up here. Yeah. And things have changed, but we've got to do more. And I thought, well, I've got to go into an office, haven't I? I haven't got any choice because I'm not a handyman. So my dad was really supportive, my mum and dad, and he was an office man, obviously, because he wasn't a decorator. Yeah. So he was a sales director and he'd come in from the company and worked his way through. And I stayed a great person that has lots of people that I idolise or have as. I'm just not that made like that. But I suppose if you've got to ask me, my dad helped me massively, and I saw how he operated, and I can see my boys have kind of done the same thing with me. So, right, let's get an office job. So, sat down and went up into to London, and back in the day there were agencies, and you walked in and they said, right, can we have your details, blah blah blah, and one of the agencies said, yeah, no problem, Kev, we're going to get you a job, you're great, lovely. And in the meantime I'd applied for NatWest. And what they did was they didn't say, like, it wasn't like a branch, it was up in London, so it was departments, and they just mass said, right, loads of people went for an interview, you interviewed, and then you got told afterwards you got a job. You didn't know where it was, what department it was, or anything. So you just got interviewed, and then they took you through, and you got placed somewhere. So I did the interview. I felt it went really well. I'd gone up to London in the morning with my mates, and we'd, gone around and, had the interview. And then I think my friend of mine had an interview. Felt it went very well. Waiting to hear. And then my dad rang me one evening when I was at my cousin's, and he banked with NatWest, and he'd opened my letter, and he went, you've got a job, Kev, you've got a job at NatWest. And he went, I said, oh right, where is it? And he went, stock office. So he said, it looks like you're going to be handing out pens and pencils, Kev, well done. And I'm like, what was stock office? Is it? So
what is
anyway, you don't know until you get there. It was stocks and shares. So that was, that was my sort of introduction to the city, and caught my sort of interest. So back then, the department I worked in was NatWest Stock Office. You were the middleman between a broker and a branch. So you could go into your NatWest branch, Lindsay, in Whitehaven, and say, I want to buy X amount of shares. They go, okay. They take the order. They put it on with a broker that was their allocated broker. Then we would get all the paperwork from the broker, from the branches, and it was all done centralised. So that went on while the year I joined Stock Office. I think it was the Big Bang in 1986, and everything went. So we saw lots of things happen, and I found it really interesting. NatWest bought a broker themselves, so they were going to shut down the office. And I there was no issue with with losing a job or anything like that. They were just relocating people. So I stayed with NatWest. I went with a senior manager to NatWest stockbrokers that we'd bought, and I helped doing a project there. And it was very much the introduction of technology then, instant share dealing in branches. You can go in and I mean it looks antiquated now, but back then that was pretty cutting edge. So I did that. And then I was on a management program. So they took me out of stocks and shares, if you like, and I went into other departments.
How did you get on your management program?
That was just something that the bank put me through when I was there.
Did you apply? Was it
No, back then you didn't apply. They asked if I wanted to do it, and they sort of sped me through different departments and that. So I think you got asked because they could see that they thought something. So did that, and went to another department. Really enjoyed it. All different areas, and as I say, I'd spend 3, 4 months, 6 months, whatever in each one. And it was a massive building, so there was all these different departments in this building, in Threadneedle Street in London, so right in the middle of the heart of the city. And that was great as well. As a young man going up there, I didn't live far from London, so we were out in the evenings up there, and it was fantastic. And things were a lot cheaper then as well. So carried on doing that, really enjoyed it. And then it got to, I think about 23, and NatWest said the departments I was working in, the whole building, we're relocating to Harrogate. And a 23-year-old Kev said, well, I don't want to go to Harrogate. I'm all my friends here, my life here. Kev today would have definitely jumped at the chance. So I said, I'm not sure I want to do that. They were going to place people again in other areas, so we were going for interviews. And that was when a friend of mine that I'd worked with previously said, Kev, there's an opening at Lehman Brothers, this big investment, American big investment bank. And it was in the back office. So when you do the back office, the operational side of things, not the trading and not the front office with the sales. And again, you could earn a lot good money, and it was a good career. So I said, well, I haven't done it for a while, Sean, because I've been doing these other things. He said, well, that's fine. So I went to the interview and I said, look, I haven't done it for a while, but I know it. long story short, got the job. And it just so worked out that I joined, and my friend ended up leaving, and the manager was ill, and I ended up running the back office area at quite a young age, supervising that. And basically just that just went from there really. And then I moved out and went further on to work on the front office. But I won't say any more in case you've got any more questions about that.
Loads of questions.
Yeah. So that was the start, and it was literally, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and that's what I'd like to change. I think it's the kids today have got more idea what they want to do. It gives you a little bit of a head start, doesn't it? Yeah,
absolutely.
But yeah, so basically, I wasn't a manual sort of guy, so I was always going to be going down that route. But I've got to say, life takes you down different routes, doesn't it? And my old man said to me, "What is meant to be is meant to be," and I really do live by that one as well.
My wise lady, she's absolutely right as well. Doesn't pass you by. What's meant for you doesn't pass you by.
Exactly.
That's my mantra.
Exactly.
So yeah, kind of touching on being in that big investment bank. So is it American Investment Bank?
It was. It wasn't.
Yeah,
it was one. Yeah. Because I don't. You may not know, but in 2008 there was this big almighty crash. And then we got the financial crash, and unfortunately Lehman Brothers went bankrupt. Nothing to do with.
Was it lots of property?
It was property. It was in America. It was the subprime. They'd packaged up things, and they were worthless. Very, very challenging time. I mean, 2008. My boys were young. And you didn't know what was going to happen.
No.
I will never ever forget that weekend, the Friday. It was a very strange place. I mean, we worked off a trading floor, huge, massive place in well, at this stage it was in Canary Wharf.
Kind of like the scenes that you see from the films.
Absolutely. And the phones were very, very quiet because all of this was going around. And we're not going to go bust. We're going to be all right. But people are being sensible. If they traded with us, there's an amount of risk that.
Of course.
So it was going on, and I had this Friday off just before this happened. I had a Friday off, and we were going camping with some friends in a place called Manston Airport in Kent. Okay. And we were just they had a caravans, and they put a tent for us, and it was just a weekend with friends and the kids. And the girls had gone down there on the Thursday night, set up, and they were all there. And I was going down with my friend on the Friday. He was a mechanic, and all this was going on at work, and I went in to speak to my boss, and I said, "Look, I don't know if I can have the day off." We all said, "Kev, don't worry, it's fine." And they were pretty certain that someone was going to buy us, so it was going to be okay.
Wow.
So he said, "Go and have good fun. Seriously, don't worry." So off I went. As soon as you arrived at the campsite, that was it. All connections to the outside world were gone. Yeah, so technology and connectivity wasn't as good as what it is now, but obviously you still had your mobile phones and that. Everything gone. So I probably was in a bit of a strange mood because of what was going on. So the first night, apparently I was a bit stressed. I was moaning. The second night, they plied me with alcohol and gave me more pillows, and basically said, get to sleep. I think the problem the first night was that I was told that Manston Airport wasn't a working airport by my friend, but actually a plane taxied around the runway the whole night. So that was probably So that weekend, coming back from Manston, as we drive down the motorway coming home, all these messages popping up. Barclays was the people that were going to buy us. They pulled out. There was an issue with money. There were checks that our government had to do, and the deal was only on the table then. So they pulled away. They bought the American piece of Lehman Brothers, but Europe was effectively bankrupt. They were bought by a Japanese bank, Nomura, and we did carry on working with them for a little while. But the state of the markets continued, and they laid off people. Japanese buy a model, and if it doesn't work after 18 months, they tend to sort of shelve it, and that's what happened. So a bit of a stressful time, but my advice to anyone, you've got to keep them going, haven't you? My boys were young, you have to protect them. So I just carried on, and I carried on working for another firm in London, but that didn't last very long because it was just carnage really up there. So I had to think about how I was going to reinvent myself. So I went on to do another job, which I can talk about now, or you
definitely
can get me over to another question if you want. Otherwise, I tend to just rattle on for ages. Sorry, Lindsay.
No, it's a podcast, just what you're meant to do. It's absolutely fine. No, so kind of in that time frame, you learned a lot of skills and probably learned a lot about yourself as well.
Absolutely.
The art of communication and effective communication with your colleagues and bosses and everyone else around you. So
absolutely.
Kind of what kind of skills have you learned on that journey that have...
I think, I did, to just reflect on that, you learn so many skills in the job that you probably don't realise. And I run an Armed Forces Covenant event the other day at Centre Parks on Wednesday, and Glenn Franklin, the MD, did us a talk, and it was absolutely brilliant. And he talked about his journey from a 16-year-old, well, I'm saying really, a young 16-year-old going into the army and how he progressed. And it's amazing what skills you pick up. And I think for me, transferable skills were communication, leadership, engaging, management, absolutely, I was lucky that NatWest sent me off on a training course as well, up in the Lake District. But you learn so much because business is a people business. Even for you guys with, technology and that, it's still about the person, isn't it? Look at us today. It's about engagement. It's about communication. And my message is to, yes, relationships in business are very important. And that breeds collaboration, innovation. So absolutely. So those things are, are quite good skills to pick up. And, you're dealing with all different characters as well. And it's about dealing with them in the correct way, because some characters can be slightly different from others, can't they?
Yes, absolutely. And I guess kind of you being at school and being a bit of a Jack the lad, maybe a bit of a joker, kind of had that personality that you could get on with people.
Yeah, I think it did, it did.
Made you a people, would you say?
People person, absolutely. And that's what I always say. And that's how I ended up working in the front office at Lehman Brothers, because I went out with the traders, and had bants with them and and talk to them, and obviously they could see that I had half a brain as well, possibly. But that's it about it, isn't it? Relationships, but for me, I love working with people. It's I can work on my own quite happily, but I'm very happy in a team, speaking with people, as you can probably tell, Lindsay.
No, absolutely, and I think it's fascinating that the journey that people go on as well. So you kind of the Lehman Brothers era sort of came to a bit of an end, but you were still coaching the football at that point.
I was, I'll tell you what, at that period of time, you'd built up this lovely CV and you felt quite successful. But when you've got a CV like that in a downturn, it's not always that positive, because people don't want to employ you. Because obviously the cost of things. So I think, to be honest, I'll be totally honest, I was still at Larkfield Football Club at that time, and if it wasn't for that, I might have struggled a little bit more. That really kept me going, and that was the year when I took over and organised all the fundraising and everything. And again, in the middle of a downturn, I and Kev's walking around Argos and places and trying to get things out of them, and we did really well, and we put on a lovely event. So I think football for me has always been something that's my happy place, really, not just at the Emirates Stadium, but on my lounge, sitting on the settee watching football. When I met my wife, a lot of my mates said, "You do realise this guy watches a lot of football?" And she was like, yeah. And I think a couple of weeks later, she went, "I didn't realise they meant every single game that's on TV you'll watch."
And then the highlights.
And the highlights. But I did a very, very sensible thing. I took my wife to Highbury at the time. That's where Arsenal were playing, early on, to watch a game. Her father was West Ham, so I had to put a stop to that straight away. So I took her to an Arsenal game. We scored, we won, and she was besotted with Arsenal until my boys were born, and then it changed. But you're right. During the downturn, during the Lehman's demise, football was a big part of my life, and it really did keep me going.
So if I was going to ask you, when you were at school, was the dream to be a footballer? Was that?
Oh yeah.
Was that the goal?
Absolutely.
To be a footballer?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that for me is why I probably ended up coaching, and I didn't shove it down my boy's throat, but we had a really good setup. We had me and my mate, and it was good cop, bad cop, and every time at the end of the season, there were competitions, and the boys loved competitions. Yeah, so the season had ended, and you had 5-a-side competitions, and this was club's bread and butter. At the end of the season, they put on a day like that, and they get the money. It keeps them going. Yeah. So we went in for every single one that you could go in for, but we had to have 2 teams because it was 5-a-side.
Yeah.
We didn't do an A and a B team. Of course, we didn't. We did, but we didn't say that there was an A and a B team. And the boys weren't stupid at this age. They're young, 11, 12, or whatever. And they were going, Kev, we want to be, and we were the ethos of, we want to win.
Yeah.
It's important that you enjoy it. Yeah. And we streamed players into other sides. We didn't think that, but the name of the game is to win. Yeah. So we would put out a side that we thought could have a go, and I would take the rest of the lads. And I said to them, you're not the B side. I'll be totally honest with you. We're putting one side out that we think maybe could do better. Yeah. And this particular year, and the Lehman thing that had gone on, so I wasn't in a great place. Yeah. And we had a competition at a place called Vinters in Maidstone, a very good competition. Jeff Hurst was there.
Nice.
So proper competition.
Yeah.
And I had my lads, and they said, what's the teams? And right, you were with me. And bear in mind, my son was with the other guy, because he, was in that side, the A side. And so I wasn't watching him play. And I said to the boys, seriously, I'd say to them today, they were really good players, but probably not as good as some of those. And that's the way we took it. Yeah. But I won this competition with my side, and it was along coming second in the league. That was a great day, because this was the Vinters competition, and Larkfield won it. And I'm a real motivator. I'm loud, but I don't shout at the boys, and I'm not aggressive to the boys, but I motivate them. And by God, it works for a lot of them. It really does. And you should have. I think I was probably crying at the end of it, and this guy was next to me saying, all right, mate, calm down. It's only a 5-a-side competition. No, it's not. No, it's not.
It's not. Premier League.
Yeah. So for me, that was great. And you're right. Absolutely, football still plays a massive part in my life. I did. I arrived here in 2021. I did actually help the guys at Penrith Academy coaching them. Yeah, but that stopped after a year or so, and then my lads have now. Yeah. Working more and more, so I'm not currently doing anything, but the chairman down there, really great guy, Billy Williams, has just said, obviously if you ever want to come back down, come and have a chat. So I haven't ruled it out, but just
sport just kind of keeps you going. So you kind of wanted to be into football, ended up kind of working in the bank, in the sort of a office space, but football's still always been
was always there.
So fascinating. Don't give up on your dreams, and it always kind of feed right through your life, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So and it's strange, isn't it? You sit down and start talking about this, and you actually think, crikey, it really, yeah. I know you're golf, aren't you? Yeah. I just could never go on with it. It's just too slow for me.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm doing something wrong.
No. It's
They got the hump when I started kicking the ball around the course.
I depends what day it is. If I'm having a good day, golf's the best game in the world, and I'm mostly on the right of the fairway at the minute. So it is early season, so it cut me some slack. But golf is.
I've heard you're bright though, Lindsay. So I think you're. Yeah.
I'll pit myself against most. I'll give them a run for the money anyway. But it's just fascinating to hear how sport does play a massive thing, and I guess being part of a team as well. That's kind of a transferable skill from
absolutely as well. And you know what? It wasn't just about the football for the kids. Yeah. It gives them an interest. And I'm not saying they're going to be on the streets but I think they need an interest out of school. And I think sports is such a good. You learn such a lot, whether it's football, whether it's rugby, whether it's whatever. And what was lovely is later on in the years gone by, I'd be walking around Sainsbury's in Maidstone with my wife, and I'd have a 17 or 18-year-old logo. Kev, all right, how you doing? And that to me was like perfect. Amazing. And Now, a lot of them have said, Kev, you've really helped some of that. And I think that's fantastic. And as I say, it wasn't just about the football. It was about being in a team, being part of something and actually speaking to you. The amount of conversations I had when boys come to me and go, Kev, can I speak? And it's an outlet. It's someone different, isn't it? And as I say,
it's on your terms, not on.
Absolutely. So I thought, and for me, that was I'm glad I'm about to inspire children because, it's great, that you've got, some of these lads have gone on and done really well. When we had some great players that went and played in the Kent, played for the district. So, it's a lovely education,
Awesome. I love it. So you mentioned that you came on a trip, an outward bound trip.
Yeah.
To the Lake District. What year was that? Was that in the NatWest?
It was. You're going back. It probably could have been around about 1987, possibly something like that. So really showing white beard age now, aren't I?
That your first visit to the lakes, was that
It actually wasn't.
All right, okay.
But I'm so glad to go back.
Yeah.
When I was young, I was in. I think I kept this one a bit quiet.
Yeah.
I was in the Scouts.
Okay.
And I was a member of Second Erith troop, and we were very, very lucky. And we had a troop of about 100 boys.
Oh wow.
So when you went to school, and back in the day, I went to school in the first year. It's now year 7, is it? I don't know, but it used to be first year.
Yeah.
Makes much more sense, doesn't it? First, second, third, fourth year. And you start school. I didn't really have any friends that had come from my primary school. So I'm going to big boy school on my own, really. There was a guy around the corner I walked in with, but he was in a different class. So you put a bit of bravado up, don't you? It's all of that. And people said things, and Mr. Cool. And then one evening, one of my mates went, "Do you want to come swimming down in Dartford? We're going swimming. The Scouts are going down there." "What do you mean the Scouts are going down there?" I used to be in the Cubs. There's got a Scout group down there. Went down there. And you wouldn't see it happen now. It was absolutely unbelievable. There's leaders there. We were jumping in, bombing, people getting slapped, they're rubbing their beards, all stuff that now would just wouldn't be able to do. Yeah. And it was great fun. And what I noticed when I got down there was lots of my class there, that all these cool guys that had said nothing about being in the Scouts. So because it wasn't really, you don't say that then. So we got back and I said, that was brilliant. And they said, well, but you can't just go swimming all the time. You've got to be part of the Scouts. So we rocked down there on a Friday night, and lo and behold, half the lads that I were in class with are all standing there going, "All right, go." And they kept that quiet. But it sounds out of order, but you put up with the Friday night, which was good anyway, but you put it up because it gave us a whole option to do. We went camping, we went football competitions, we did this and that, but we spent a hell of a lot of time in the Lake District.
Wow.
Going up Scarfield Pike, doing canoeing.
Yeah.
So from a young age, I was exposed to the Lake District and I absolutely loved it. So it was always my intention maybe to retire up here, but it sort of escalated a little bit, and that was to do with COVID, but that's another question.
Yeah. No. So you kind of had a bit of an intro to the lakes, and then kind of bumbled away.
Yeah, it bubbled away, and then NatWest said, right, we want to send you on a leadership program. Yeah. We send you on an outwards bounds course at the Lake District. So off I came again. Yep. And that was fantastic as well. And what place to do it.
Fabulous.
And I would say to any firm now, obviously in firms in the Lake District know what's available, but any firms down south or wherever, absolute no-brainer to get your team on an outward bound course or something like that. Team building, brilliant.
Yeah, something about the fresh air and the fells up there.
Absolutely,
it's something quite special,
isn't it?
We take it for granted as well, don't we?
And I got inspiration, and a couple of years ago, I organised a lot of the networking for the chamber as well, and we did a networking nature, and we went up Cat Bells. Yeah. Nice. And we had Harrison Ward at the top cooking up for us. So it's perfect. And do you know what the embarrassment that day was? Okay, and I will say this because people will tell you, someone was ill on the way up. Who do you think it was?
Oh, it wasn't you.
Yeah, it was me, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm standing by my store. I'd had a latte before I come, and I seemed to have got less and less intolerant to milk and stuff as I got older, and it was definitely that. But yeah, how embarrassing was that? Kev organises a trip without cat bills, and someone pukes at the bottom of the hill, and it was Kev.
So yeah, you kind of came up there and kind of exposed to the Lake District, and then you sort of moved everyone north. Was that after COVID? So
yeah. So what happened was, after obviously the banking world falling apart, and having a second job and up there and lasting probably just over a year, it takes your toll on you, and I think my wife recognised that as well. And she said, she actually said to me when Lehman Brothers went bankrupt, she was pleased, and I looked at her and I said, "What do you mean?" And I think she meant, for my health. Yeah, I was going out, eating in very nice restaurants, drinking far too much and things like that. So on that side of things, she was quite happy. I don't quite agree with her at the time, but I do see her point massively now. But the other job, as I say, didn't last that long, and I just said, I don't want to do it. This is just soul destroying. Yeah. So, obviously, again, as I say, it was a downturn. So, in a recession, it's hard. But I ended up working for a health and safety training company, a consultancy and training company, and worked there for 7 years. Went really well. Again, using all my transferable skills. Yeah. Built up a really good team. Unfortunately, Brexit did alter the landscape of the money we were earning, and I found myself in a situation in December 2019 with the managing director saying, "Look, sorry, Kev, we're going to have to let you go. One of 3 senior managers can't afford all of you. Yeah. The IT manager and the finance manager will babysit your team." So fair enough, that was that. So I had some gardening leave because I was of a certain level. So that took me into March 2020. So I said to my wife, let's just have a nice Christmas. I'll worry about a job in the new year. Yeah. COVID. Yeah. So we thought, right, what are we going to do? And it seemed a good opportunity to actually, if we were going to do something, let's do it. And I didn't know whether that would be possible because I've got 2 young sons then that are now, obviously, that is 4 years ago, so you're talking 16, 17. They're very active boys. Obviously, I've said to you, they play football, they like walking, all that. Yeah. So they both actually said, yeah, we'll come. My wife's got family up here. Yeah. So we just took the plunge. We put the house on the market, sold it, and literally came up. Wow. And then sorted ourselves up when we got up here. So boys have got their own business now. Yeah. And my wife works in the tourism sector. So that was that. Yeah. So basically that's what happened. I think, as I say, it was always a plan to come up here, but it was a bit more forward than what we thought. And I think if the boys had said no, we probably wouldn't have done. Yeah. But they did. It worked out that Kieran actually came up here, went back, but he's back again, and he started his business up here. So they're both working together now. Wow. Oh, that's fun. I bet that's a story for another day. That's another story, yeah.
So I guess, you've kind of summarised it, and then you're now working with the guys over at the Chamber of Commerce in Cumbria. So what does a day-to-day job look like there? What does from your sort of, I guess you don't do 9 to 5 because I know you host all the networking events.
No,
and stuff,
that's the thing.
What does an average day look like?
Yeah. What I like about the role I'm doing with this local skills improvement engagement manager is obviously I'm engaging. Yeah. So I'm speaking to different companies about different things. I'm putting on different events to help different things. I'm going to colleges and speaking to them. And for example, this week, or yesterday actually, I do some miles in Cumbria, you've probably seen that. So I went down to Ulverston at the Gen 2 centre in Ulverston and had a chat with the guys there, and just talking to them about my career, what I've done, and speaking about the skills gaps and what they need to do in interviews and that, because I'm so conscientious that a lot of these guys have gone through COVID. They've also been brought up on a mobile phone, and a lot of them are very, very clever and they're very good, but some of them, and we've had discussions about it with them, may not have the communication skills that you would like, or not the same. And it's absolute reason why we know they're brought up online.
Yeah.
So my day can really vary. So as I say, yesterday I went and spoke to students there. We talked about how you would prepare a CV, what you do at interviews, etc. And even though sometimes they may have done some of that, it's nice to have an outside person as well and telling them what companies are looking for at interviews and that. Again, I'm very conscientious that you know, you can be a young guy and I go, right, okay, you're going for an interview. They haven't done anything.
Yeah.
They have not, you know, and that's hard, isn't it? You've got to sell yourself, so you've got to know what you're doing. So so days can look very different. I came back from there. Then I was at Carlisle College last night, which was absolutely fantastic. They had the apprenticeship awards.
Oh, yes.
So that was brilliant. They're so good to see, you know, the guys getting involved there.
Yeah.
So it can really vary. We're doing lots of, you know, speaking to different companies throughout the whole of Cumbria, setting up meetings to discuss certain things. As I say, this week again, I did mention it earlier, I put on the Armed Forces Covenant event, and that is brilliant. And we had some vets come, and that was really inspiring. Making sure we do plenty of networking. So yeah, my week can be sort of like quite hard work sometimes, but
quite full on and quite social as well.
Yeah, but I like it.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Because I like it. You know, you often see these events sort of end at 7 o'clock, and you'll see Kev still standing there talking to people at 8 o'clock. Yeah. And you know what? That's great. And if they're having a good time, you know, and a discussion and it's helping, it's good. So yeah, it's a day can look very different, but and also people come to you. The more you go around and connect, they go, oh, actually, you know. And I went down to Oxley's recently, the end of last year, and met all their apprentices and seen how they've gone through and that. And I end up going to a lot of the skills fairs and things like that, and seeing these young guys and that, and just helping in any way you can by giving advice and things. So yeah, very varied, really, really interesting. And I think hopefully with some of the things that we're doing is making a difference.
Fantastic. That's so to hear your story and inspiring that next generation. That's purely what we're here for as well, is to kind of open the doors and let people hear everyone's stories. Everyone has got a story, a career journey, a career path that we've all been on, and no doubt I'll end up being interrogated at some point. I know it's going to happen. But yeah, kind of just...
Actually, I'm going to turn it on its head. I might volunteer myself to interview you.
Okay, absolutely. You've heard it here first, guys. So I guess I've got a couple of random questions.
Okay, I've been looking forward to these ones. Yeah, thank you.
So I've ticked off the day-to-day. So I would ask you, obviously you know a lot about schools and sort of the curriculum and how things work, and if you could add one thing or take one thing out of the curriculum, what would I do? What would it be?
I would add, what do you want to call them? Life skills, if you like.
Okay.
And the Cumbria Enterprise in Cumbria are doing a lot of work on this. Would love to add a lesson within school to really. I know some schools do it, but some don't still. But to give them a little bit of insight to the working world. We send them to school to train them to go to work, yeah? But we don't tell them anything about work or what it is. So I'd love to see companies going into schools at a very young age, the first year or year 7.
Year 7, yeah.
And obviously they're young guys, they're young children, they're not going to know. But even if you had someone like Sellafield going in and go, right, we do this and do that, then you had a painter and decorator coming in, someone else that does this, a football coach or something. Yeah. But it gives them something to mull over, doesn't it? And so when at 15, 16, they go, what do you want to do? They go, I don't know. You know, so for me, some kind of structure within school to you know, there is a life out there, and a lot of kids don't know about the jobs out there because they don't know. And if you don't know and you don't get told, you don't know, do you?
Exactly.
You know, and that was very apparent. I had 3 work experience students last year, and I took them for a week and took them out to different places. And at the end of the first year I did it, the guy said to me, Kev, he said, I know what I want to do. I knew what I want to do before. He said, but you have opened my eyes so much to what goes on in Cumbria and what goes on around me. I didn't know. And I don't think that's just the same for children. Yeah. It's the same for adults as well, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So, I think that would be that. I would take out, a bit controversial, but if you're not good at maths and English and stuff like that, I would do something there that you haven't got to be an academic. Not everyone has got to go to university.
Yeah.
Yes, there should be people that go to university, but I think we need a match, don't we? We need a mix of it.
Yeah.
And apprenticeships. My boys have both done apprenticeships, and I think they're a great start. So I think I would give more about telling them about work and what's out there at a younger age, and give them support. And I know it's hard. I know the challenges that schools have got. I mean, it's not an easy thing. And what I'd take out is just maybe. It's a big thing. It's not easy to do, but some of the things that we label people, you've got to have this GCSE, you've got to have that, you've got to have that. Because actually, do you use all of it when you're in jobs? Yes, you do use some of it, and some of it you're told why you need it, but there are jobs that you don't.
Yeah,
and I think that could actually demotivate some children if they don't get the exams they want. They think that they're finished or they haven't got a career, and that's not the case, because there's something probably for everyone.
You're absolutely right. And we were just chatting, the guest that was on the previous week, we were talking about sort of the maths, and I've never used Pythagoras' theorem since I left school. I have A-levels in maths. But yeah, it's kind of that whole system. So we're really curious in getting people's insights into, from your perspective, what would you add or what would you take out? So yeah,
absolutely
great
do that.
points.
And a big thing for me, and which is now, the legislation was brought in, but a big thing for me, and I'd love to see it being pushed more forward when they come to leave school. Give them options. There is university, but there is also actually you could do an apprenticeship. You could do this. You could do that. Have you thought about this? And I think if we go in at schools younger and educate them, that will actually become apparent anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
So which side of the fence are you on? The university or apprenticeship route?
For me, I absolutely think university, if you're going to be a doctor or whatever like that, it makes perfect sense. I get that. And I do understand that university moulds some children. For me, I think apprenticeships. It's working on the job. You're earning money. And if you don't want to go to university and you're not, I take my two boys as a prime example. They both did very well at school. I'm really pleased with them. They did very well in the GCSEs and their A-levels. BBC. I'm not talking about the television program, or the television channel even. But they didn't want to go to university. It wasn't them. They didn't want to. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. They wanted to go into something else. And look at, some of the reason we've got the skills gaps in this country now. We've got no tradesmen. Why is that? Because probably everyone went to university. But you know what I'm saying? We, as a country, we push things one way and don't think about it. So the skills gaps that are here now is not a surprise. So we do need, other people, and I think that's worth saying to children. Look, if you don't go to university, it's not the end of the world. You can still have a very successful career by doing an apprenticeship.
I agree. No, it's very, very interesting. It's such a topical debate at the moment as well.
And I would say I'm not. University is great as well. Of course it is. We need both. There needs to be both. But I think for me, in my current job and the current way we are in the country, I think apprentices are something we should really push.
Definitely.
And maybe a degree apprentices as well, even at a higher level.
Absolutely. And they do exist, don't they? I think there are some in Cumbria. We have some great apprentices and have had great apprentices at Chatterjack, so very fortunate. But
it's good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely fascinating. And I guess the skills that you learn while you're in the workplace, but you're still learning at the same time you're getting your qualifications. So it's really worked for us, but it's fascinating to see what other people think as well, because just to explore that and flesh it out a bit more. So what would you tell younger Kev?
I would tell him what I told my boys. Concentrate.
You're going with that one.
You can still have a laugh. You can still be one of the boys. But do it carefully and do it properly. And I think that is what I said to my boys, and I must have been like a million dads, don't mess around in that. But I actually sat them down and had a really frank conversation and said, look, it's up to you. I can't stop you from doing what you're going to do. I did, as I said to you, I did examinations later on in life. Because what the job I ended up doing. And that's tough when you start doing an exam at 30, that and you haven't done one since you're 16. That's hard work. so I just said to them, look, it's your whole life, okay?
It is.
You can still do the things, but knuckle down, pay attention. And I've got to say, they did.
Yeah.
So it did work. So I think, it's a bit of a boring answer. I know, I'm sure lots of people say it, but I would also as well say to anyone, my younger self, I would say concentrate and do that. But I would say to any child now, believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. Because if you don't believe in yourself, you're going to make it's a lot harder to succeed.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid of failure. Failure is needed to learn.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
It's only a fail if you let it be. If you learn something from it, you've not failed, have you?
All life experiences, aren't they? Right?
They absolutely are. Have you got any closing remarks for us, Kev? If you've covered quite a lot there. There's a lot to
Is it a bit too much?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. There's a lot covered.
I think closing remarks are, I've lived in Cumbria for 4 years now, and what a fantastic place. And just want to help spread the word that there are careers out there in Cumbria. As I say, to any younger person now, do believe in yourself, and ask questions and
be curious.
Be curious, absolutely. But no, I think Cumbria is a wonderful place, and I think there's a lot of potential here. We came up here because we could see the potential and we could see the growth. That could be quite a controversial thing to say at the moment with all the problems that we're having, I know, but people in Cumbria are very good at collaborating, and a lot of the work we've done on the local skills improvement plan has been fantastic with the companies getting involved, and I think that gives you a sort of a bit of a ray of light, and the Cumbrians will push through things and get on with it. I think I would just say, do not. Parting comments is, if you haven't done well in your exams, do not give up. Okay, it's not the end of the world. It's seriously not. Okay, and you can look at doing something else. You haven't got to go to university if you don't want to, but there are jobs out there, and we need people. We really do. And look at new skills. I mean, obviously, different things going on. My wife works in tourism, and it's seen as a sector that isn't a career by a lot of people.
Yeah,
it is. It can be a great career. Yeah. I spoke to a haulage company from around here. As a young man driving a heavy goods vehicle, if you like driving, it's a pretty good job. It's pretty well paid. You get a good 4 days off, 5 days, whatever. So you get that. Yeah. And I think that goes unnoticed because we don't tell people about things. So I do lots of networking. If any students want to come to networking with the Cumbria Chamber of Commerce, please do come.
Awesome.
You go on the website, just register.
Yeah. We've
had some students from Gen 2 lately coming to Workington 1. We did one in Ulverston, and they've come and met people.
Brilliant.
And I think they were going outside their comfort zone, and they've gone afterwards. God, that was all right, actually, wasn't it? And the one in Workington, they even got a couple of people got work experience.
Amazing.
So really, seriously, if you're over, I think it's 16, you haven't got to have the teacher with you or whatever. Yeah. If you wanted to register, please do. Because it would be great. It's a really good introduction to businesses. There's lots of businesses there, all different kinds, and I think it's a great thing to put on the CV as well.
Absolutely. And the web address for that, is it?
The Cumbria Chamber. Literally, if you just type in cumbriachamber.co.uk, it's on there. You go to an events page, drop down, and you'll see all these events. And they're called Business Bites. And I've now started, strangely enough, going on tour because a lot of customers saying to us, we'd like to network in the day. So you can tell COVID is well and truly behind us. Yeah. And I think the last one we did was down at Newby Bridge in the Lakeside Hotel. We had about 60 people there. Yeah. So it shows you there's a lot of passion out there, and a lot of people want to collaborate and want to do business.
Brilliant. Well, that's really cool. Thanks so much for joining us and sharing that fabulous career.
Thank you.
Thank you
for having
so
me.
much. No, you've been a brilliant guest. And we will see you for the next episode very soon. Thank you.